If you look at this video, you'll notice just the sheer amount of transits that we can have in a given 90 days. Now, this is basically just a body graph. There's no definition on this. This is all connected to how the planets are connecting to one another. So, in other words, this shows you just the sheer amount of definition that we get in the global aura just in 90 days, which means that we are always being influenced. Now, if you add in your body graph and the actual connections that you have in your specific body graph, they get more kind of influenced by how the planets are moving through the energy. And even if you sat in the middle of a field with no people around, the planets are still going to be around you. And this is why it's really a great idea to have the awareness and to understand what exactly is happening and where the planets are transiting and the gates that they are activating so you can understand the themes. What is a planetary transit? Well, a planetary transit is when a planet is transiting or moving around, you could say orbiting around in our terms. It's not like NASA sees this type of thing. This is how we are interpreting the energy of how the planets are moving. They're moving around the mandala as they would with an astrology chart, connecting with different gates. Now, what happens is we are constantly being bathed in a neutrino ocean, and most of it, 70% in fact, is coming from the sun. So we're always having this information that is coming down and being showered upon us. When you have planets, this energy of basically stardust, we could say, is being filtered by the planets. And so that brings a specific theme. So when Mars is in a gate, it might act quite a bit differently than when Venus is in a gate. Now, all the neutrinos don't come from the sun. There's a small percentage that come from Jupiter and also the other stars. What happens to us is we have these theoretical, it can't be proven, but theoretical crystals of consciousness. And we have a personality crystal and also a design crystal. And what happens is these neutrinos are basically entering these crystals. The crystals kind of decipher the information. That information is put together, sent off to the magnetic monopole, and that message is given to us. And it basically helps us with our trajectory of life. Some people can call this chi or prana, based on who you are. And this is how the planets move. So we have the movements of all the celestial bodies. And when I say celestial bodies, like the sun and moon are luminaries, so they're not necessarily planets, but they all move counterclockwise and they go around the mandala just like they would, as I said, with an astrology chart. The nodes of the moon go the opposite way, so they're going clockwise. So the nodes of the moon are basically just like astrological points. The main point for us is that it is our environment. And the nodes of your moon, the nodes in your body graph, are really considered what you call your storyline or the environment that you're living your life through. The other perspective is from a global look, we have the environment of how everybody is moving through the world. And you could say it like it's like a stage of a play where everybody's moving through the same type of energy. And we're all responding differently than other people because we all are individuals and the way we are configured is not the same as anybody else. So how we interact and you could say even react to the environment can be different. Now, conditioning is something that I want to sort of quickly talk about. And, a lot of times we talk about conditioning in human design and how it's not good and those types of things. But the type of conditioning that I'm talking about is not really connected to this idea of where you grew up in your life and who was sort of in your aura at all points and what energy did you feel was your energy, even like your fixed energy as opposed to an energy that was fluid. That is not really what we're talking about with this type of conditioning because the planets are always moving. And, yes, even though they can stay in a gate and line for, a fair bit of time, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to be conditioned in a way where you start to believe that energy. And I would look at it as the awareness to know that this energy is transient, to use it to your advantage as much as possible and then let it go and move on and allow new energy to show up as it will. You could always say, well, why would you care about planetary transits when you just have electromagnetics? Because we are 90% of the time, or there's a good percentage of time that we are in the aura of other people, and this is electromagnetics. The best part of the planetary transits is they are like more pure energy. Now, when you are interacting with a human or humans, you're getting the whole body graph, their whole body graph. So electromagnetics are the connections that you have with other people in relationships. It can even be connections that you get when you go out to a supermarket, because we all have some hanging gates in our body graph. And what happens is that gate is almost always looking for its harmonic or the other half of the channel. So it's almost drawing the energy to you. When you get that connection and it brings a full channel, then that is when you are having electromagnetic connections with other people. So all the planetary transits that we talk about or the techniques can easily be used in relationship charts as well. Now, this is a human design mandala, and a lot of times you can get a body graph. It doesn't have the mandala because a lot of things have been sort of tapered down, streamlined. But there's so much information in the human design mandala, so I thought I would just quickly go through just a few of the things so that you could see how the energy is flowing. Because we know it's a combination, human design is a combination of so many different esoteric arts that it's nice to see where they all sort of show up in the mandala. And that's the only place you can really see it. You can't see it just in the plain body graph. So the first thing on the outer side, outermost edge of the mandala, you see this is the I Ching hexagrams. Like for instance, the gate 48 is one I like to use a lot. That is also called the well in the I Ching hexagrams. And you can have the sort of movement of the language back and forth that it's also called depth. And there's so many other keywords, but if you like the I Ching, then this might be a way that you can sort of understand the energy of human design as well. As soon as you go in one more way, one more circle, then we have the lines of the gates. And that is every gate is broken up into 6 lines, and the planets, luminaries, celestial bodies will also go through each particular line. And it's going to be counterclockwise. Well, if it's a regular planet, it's going to go 1 to 6. So you start with the first line, second line, go into the sixth line. But if it is going to be the nodes, they're going to start in the sixth line and move to the first line. So that's something to keep in mind. And this is showing you all the astrological degrees for each particular gate. So if you are into astrology, then this might be something that you're interested in. And the next one is that we have the gates, which are color coded. Now, the gates are color coded in a way where, of course, because of the way the body graph is, there are several centers that share colors. So it's not easy just to say, well, the brown is going to be, the solar plexus and the red is going to be the will center. But the one you can actually always know will be the ajna, which is green. But you can see that all the gates are color coded based on where they fall in the body graph or what specific center they fall in. So for human design, when you're tracking your transits, there's a few ways that you can have connections with the transits. And the first way is basically where the planet is transiting through a gate. So for instance, if Saturn is in the gate 63, and you have the gate 63 defined in your body graph, for instance, you have Venus activating the gate 63 in your body graph, that means Saturn and Venus will be connecting in the gate 63. So it is in conjunction, if you would sort of look at the term from astrology. But what it means is that Saturn is sort of connecting with that energy and can be bringing some themes related to your Venus or your work or those types of things. Now, Saturn is a planet that is connected to work and working hard, conservatism, those types of things. So those are the types of themes that can be activated if Saturn is connecting or conjuncting. Now, if your gate 63 is a dormant gate, or it's a gate that is not active, or it's a gate that is in an open center, then it may be even less impactful than it would be if that gate is activated. In other words, if you have a defined head center and you have Saturn connecting with your gate 63, then you might feel that energy but maybe not so much if you don't have a defined head center. It may not feel the same. But of course, everybody has their own experience, and that is really up to every one of us to go through a process and feel what it feels like for us. The other perspective is that you can have a hanging gate. For instance, you could have a hanging gate 4, which is the harmonic for gate 63, and now you have Saturn coming in, bringing the harmonic, bringing the full channel. And so this is going to bring potentially a more impactful transit because it is bringing the harmonic. It is activating a center that may not have been activated if it is, in fact, a dormant energy. And even if it isn't, and you do have an active head center, it can still bring a really good expression of the energy and a shift. So you can feel into that and feel how it feels for you. Every gate has an opposition, and these oppositions work together very well in that the themes almost meld together. This is very easy to see with the sun and the earth because they're always in opposition together. If so, for instance, if the sun is in the gate 47, then the earth is going to be in the gate 22. If so, for instance, if the sun is in the gate 47, then it will be in opposition to gate 22. And if you have gate 22 activated in your body graph and you don't have the gate 47, you will have an opposition to the gate 22, which in turn can activate some energetic connection because, as I mentioned, these energies are always working together. So it is activating your gate 22, your grace, individuality, those types of things. So that is something to also watch and feel into as well, because again, everybody has a certain way of how they interact with the transits, and your biggest job is to figure out how you're interacting with the transits and how they are working through your life. This becomes even more prominent or important when we have a longer transit. So, for instance, now we have Neptune transiting through the gate 25, which means that it is in opposition to gate 46, which means that it is not only working or dissolving energy in the gate 25, but it's also shifting and changing the gate 46. Now, if you have the gate 46 activated in your body graph, there might be some shifts happening in the gate 46, or it would be considered like your body and body consciousness and being in the right place at the right time and luck and those types of things. So it's something to watch and kind of calibrate how it feels for you. Another perspective is if you do have astrology as a background, then this is a great place where you can actually look at where exactly these energies, these transits are happening. So we have eclipse coming up, and it's going to be happening where the sun is in the gate 6.4 and the moon is in gate 36.4, moon and earth. And basically, this is going to happen in specific houses. Like if you look at this sample chart, it would happen in the person's ninth house and also the third house. So this could be related to those types of themes. So that's something, if you are into astrology, that you could always add as another layer. But of course, it is absolutely not necessary to do that if you don't want to. This is basically where we get into the astrology signs, and they're color coded and they're based on the elements. And, everybody's going to have a different way of representing the colors. Here it's the colors are very similar, so it's difficult to see, but it's basically the elements are going to be air, earth, fire, and also water. The next one is that we have the circuitry. We have the head and ajna is going down to the throat center, and all the other centers that are below the throat all go up to the throat center. And so it really is kind of mimicking slightly, you could say, the tree of life from the Kabbalistic tradition. And so it's the flow of energy of life in general. And it all goes to the throat center, which is a center of manifestation where we want to bring things into our reality that were once just a thought. Then we have the body graph in the center, and I think most people are familiar with this, with the 9 centers, 36 channels, and 64 gates. Now, I'm just going to quickly go through the planets and, just to give you an idea that you have your planets that are in your body graph in their sort of expression and their representation, but sometimes on a global perspective, it can bring a different representation. You always have the underlying same parts of the body graph, the expression, but then you could even say that the transits are bringing sort of another layer. So this is the sun, as we talked about. It is the biggest source of neutrinos and very important to our survival on planet Earth. And You could say that the sun in your body graph is really, the light you have to bring into this world. And how you share your light is really based on the earth. And the earth is how you sort of bring your light and manifest your light into the world, how you express your light, how you live your life purpose, because it is connected to the Maya or the manifest world. What I notice the most about the earth and the sun is that I find that the earth is something that, when energy is going through that, when a gate is being activated by the earth, this could be more of a tangible earthly kind of, you can see this energy being played out in the world. And with the sun, it is sort of the illumination of certain things, and it could be illumination of parts of your life or things that are important to you. The moon is driving force. It's what gets us fired up. It's what gives us the energy to want to live our life purpose. It can also sometimes be emotionally driven, and that's what I would say would be more like of a transit energy, but it is a driving force that is driving the globe, everybody around, and what's making them sort of move forward if it is connecting with them. You can always have this underlying connection. How is it connecting to your body graph? How is it connecting to you? Whereas you can have transits that you don't really feel. And I like to say sometimes you're in the audience and sometimes you're in the play. Mercury is basically what everybody's communicating in the world. It's also what you communicate in your body graph. And so this could be what people are talking about, the communication. It could be the energy that gets bored the fastest. And usually when a planet like Mercury is transiting through a gate, if we have any sort of critiques about how Mercury acts in it, it's Mercury's usually wanting to move forward and move fast, and that's kind of how the energy can express in a transit, and it can express in your life as well. And Venus is the planet of love and romantic themes, and over and above that, it is always going to be about what you value. And in a transit, we could look at this connecting to what brings you pleasure, the things you love to do, abundance, career, relationships. So those all could be themes that happen when Venus is making a transit to your body graph that is sort of impacting your body graph. It could bring those energies as well as global values. And also, it's coming with sort of a yin energy, which is way different than Mars, which is bringing a yang energy. Now, the South Node and the North Node are always going to be about the environment, the global seasons, we could say, where we have the nodes transiting on a global perspective. And if we look at from the perspective of your South Node is sort of your birth to your Uranus opposition, that basically is saying that you sort of living in an environment that is based on that particular gate. And then when you hit your Uranus opposition, then you move into this idea of a different environment. And a lot of people say that they do feel different after their nodal shift. And this is not as potentially impactful. I'm not saying it's always the case, but it may not be as impactful for people who have six-line profiles because of their impactful time is their Chiron return. But having said that, what happens is when you move from your South Node theme to your North Node theme, you're basically going from environment of your South Node, which then sort of becomes just like any other gate. And then the North Node, which was just like any other gate, becomes an environment. So it kind of shifts a little bit. Mars is, of course, yang energy, and it is bringing themes of getting fast, impatience. It could be aggression. It could be assertiveness. It could be moving fast. It could be working out. It could be exercise. So there's a lot of different ways that this can express through your body graph and also in the world around you. Jupiter, of course, is expansive. And I know that a lot of people love to say that Jupiter is a benefic in astrology. And I do agree that it can bring good things. But the thing about Jupiter is it doesn't always know when enough is enough. And it can just be so expansive that it's almost too much. So Jupiter is what we get, sort of the gifts that we receive based on the hard work we do through Saturn. And if you look at Saturn and Jupiter, they're very counterbalanced, you could say. Too much of Saturn makes us too strict and inflexible, and too much of Jupiter makes no rules, too much expansion. So we have Saturn, which is contraction, and Jupiter, which is expansion, and a good balance between the two. So doing the hard work to get the gifts. Topics that it can activate are authoritarian energy. It could be conservative energy, hard work, and the old way, you could say. A lot of the old way is what Saturn brings. Then we get to the generational planets, and these move very, very slowly. So every one of these planets are going to go a little bit slower and spend more time in each line. So we're looking at it from the perspective of, for instance, Uranus is like a theme that you generally will only get once in your lifetime. Of course, you could always get it if you live beyond your Uranus return, which is around 84 years old. Whereas a lot more people are doing that nowadays. But you're not going to get your whole Uranus going around the whole mandala again. And I think the interesting thing about Uranus is that it's considered a sidetrack that sort of takes you off your path of where you're going, and it shows you something that's important and then brings you back onto your path. Now, when it takes you off your path, it doesn't mean that you're actually losing any time. You're not getting held back or that type of thing. But what it really is doing, it's like moving along moving along an alternative path to see what you need to see until you're brought back to that other path. And it's really great because it can really show you the things that are important to you. It can be connected to humanitarian endeavors. It rules Aquarius and astrology and innovative things. And with Neptune and Pluto are really the biggest energies that humanity as a whole is sort of working with. Neptune is like all about dissolving. It veils everything. And whenever it goes in a gate, you don't really know. And even in your body graph, you may not know exactly what energy Neptune is sort of bringing to you. You may not see it as easily as you can see the other parts of your body graph. And it can also be a mystical theme. So mystical or sort of spiritual theme. And transits it really is about going in and getting sort of clearing out things, dissolving things that no longer work. And then we have Pluto coming in right after, which is basically saying, okay, whatever's left over, we're going to remove, and now we're going to build a brand new platform or brand new something. And so this is really a planet, and it's not actually a planet anymore. I think it's a planetoid. It still has a lot of power as far as I'm concerned. It works hand in hand with Neptune to come in and sort of clear the way for new energy. It's very transformative, and it really has the biggest impact on humanity. And if we look at the 2027 mutation going forward, that is completely connected to the transits of Pluto and how Pluto is going to be moving into the gate 41 again. Now, this shows you all the celestial bodies, and it shows you how long they take to go around the wheel. So these are all the things. And so when you look at it, you see that, some of them spend a lot of time in a line, like Pluto spends 235 days in one line. So it really is a slow evolution of the energy and the transformation that is required for humanity. So that's it for part one. I hope you enjoyed it and it was informative. And I will have part two out very soon. Until next time, take care and bye for now.